No one is born strong, but there are those who have learned to become strong by mastering their own mindset. There is a simple truth that most people overlook. You cannot create a different life if you still cling to the same old way of thinking. And that is not because life is unfair. It is because you are trying to use the wrong map to reach a place you have never been. If you do not pause to examine how you think, then every other effort, studying, working, even praying, is being pulled back into the old orbit. Mindset is not something distant, abstract, or untouchable. It is the very first layer of operation, the place that shapes emotions, determines actions, and sketches the results that are now present in your life. Every morning you wake up with a stream of silent thoughts running in your head. Am I enough? Will I make it? Will others think poorly of me? And you do not realize that these repetitive loops act like an antenna directing your entire life. Energy. If your mindset is negative, the emotions that arise will be anxiety, dissatisfaction, and doubt. But if your mindset is positive, not the kind of fake cheerfulness, but a deliberate choice of an empowering perspective, you will feel more awake, more energized, able to see more possibilities. The problem is that most people live their whole lives without ever learning how to think with intention. They learn to read, to write, to work, but not to master their thoughts. The danger is this: thoughts are not just about you. They turn into habits. Habits become beliefs. Beliefs form identity, and identity becomes destiny. Each person is planting seeds into the soil of their own mind. If you sow doubt, you reap procrastination. If you sow fear, you reap limitation. If you sow trust, you reap powerful action. The real question is not whether you are planting seeds. The real question is, what seeds are you planting? Science has confirmed this clearly. Every repeated thought creates a new neural connection. The brain, with more than 86 billion neurons, constantly responds according to how you use it. If you repeat empowering thoughts, positive images, strong affirmations, you are shaping neural networks towards success. But if you allow your mind to drift into doubt, criticism, or worst-case scenarios, you are programming an operating system for failure. And the most important thing is this: your brain does not distinguish between what is real and what is imagined. It only reacts to what you repeat with enough emotional intensity. This is why those who worry often suffer stomach pain, shortness of breath, or sleepless nights, as if the bad event had already happened. And this is also why those who visualize positively, combined with feelings of trust and gratitude, naturally feel healthier, clearer, and even make better decisions, because they have learned to use mindset as a lever, not as a burden. But most people do not see this. They think they simply think whatever comes. They do not understand that thinking is a choice, and every choice has a cost. You think you are not good enough. Your brain records that. You think others are better than you. Your body withdraws its energy. You think, maybe I can try then. Your biological system activates exploration mode. But if you think, I will definitely find a way, your entire nervous system instantly shifts into action. Mindset is not just the voice in your head. It is the switch that controls your whole internal system. Do not blame emotions. Emotions are merely the byproduct of mindset. When you change your mindset, émotions changent. When emotions change, behavior changes. When behavior changes, results change. When results change, beliefs change, and a new cycle begins to spin in the right direction. That is not motivation that comes and goes. That is a deep operating system. You do not need to wait for circumstances to change before you begin to think differently. It is thinking differently that changes circumstances. Pause and ask yourself, if I were the leader of my own life, If I truly wanted to create an extraordinary result, how would I need to think successful people do not just act differently? They think differently. They choose to be proactive. They choose to trust. They choose to see lessons instead of failures. They choose to focus on what is possible instead of what is lost. And it is precisely that choice of mindset that shapes how they respond, act, and overcome. You cannot awaken a new life with an old mind. To change reality, you must change consciousness. To change destiny, you must begin with what you think every morning. You do not need to do something grand right now. You only need to start by observing your thoughts. Observe without judgment. Observe to understand. Observe to choose deliberately. From today, you can make a new commitment. Every thought is a command I send into the universe. Every belief is a bridge I am building toward the future. And every day is a chance to rewrite my own map. You no longer live by unconsciousness. You live with clear awareness. And it is this not luck or circumstance that will determine who you become in this life. Mindset is the ultimate resource. No one can take it from you. No even can destroy it. No one but you has the right to control it. And from that place, the quietest place in the mind, every reversal of destiny begins. We are truly grateful and deeply sorry to our audience who has accompanied Napoleon Hill's Life Principles channel throughout this journey. Due to changes in management, the channel has become less active. We sincerely hope you will continue to support and walk with us on our new channel, where we will share valuable knowledge on personal development. The link to the new channel is pinned in the comments below. And we wholeheartedly look forward to your support. With deepest gratitude, we thank each and every one of you. You cannot change results without changing habits. And you cannot change habits without changing the way you think. But mindset does not change just because you want it to. It changes when you understand the inner operating system and deliberately reprogram your mental framework. Because the mind, if left unguided, will be defaulted by the environment, by fear, by old habits. The power lies in your ability to begin controlling what is happening inside your head, day by day. And to do that, you need a specific process. Not just a fleeting burst of motivation, but a clear, repeatable, verifiable system. Below are 5 foundational steps that allow you not only to think positively, but to truly rewire your brain so that positive thinking becomes instinctive. Step 1, awareness. You cannot change what you do not recognize. Therefore, the first step is learning to observe your own stream of thoughts without judgment, without resistance, simply becoming the neutral observer inside your mind. Ask yourself in this very moment, what am I thinking? What am I saying to myself? Is the story in my head pointing toward my goals or toward fear? Most people go through life unaware that they are constantly engaging in inner self-talk that undermines them. They plant commands like, I'm not good enough. I will definitely fail. They're better than me. And then live within a narrow emotional box without knowing why. Awareness is the first light that shines into the dark corners of the unconscious. And with even a flicker of light, darkness no longer has full control. Step 2, interrupt. Once you begin to notice thought patterns that no longer serve your goals, the next step is to deliberately interrupt them. This is not an act of violence against yourself, but a conscious firmness. Each time you catch a negative thought rising, for example, I can't do this, stop. Immediately, you can declare a strong affirmation or simply whisper in your head, stop. I choose again. This act is like a signal you send to the brain saying, this is the old pathway. I no longer want to go down that road. And the remarkable thing is, as long as you repeat the act of interruption often enough, your brain will start to respond. Old neural pathways, once built by repeated negativity, will begin to weaken. And you open up space for new choices. Step 3, replace. The mind cannot operate in a vacuum. If you only stop negative thoughts without introducing anything new, your mind will return to the old path because it has no alternative. That is why the third step is deliberate replacement. What do you want to believe? What do you want to nurture in your head each day instead of "I'm not good at communication"? You could choose "I am learning to communicate more clearly every day" instead of "I don't have enough experience to succeed." You could replace it with "I have enough persistence to learn any skill necessary." Remember, the key is not whether you believe 100% yet, but that you choose to plant the new seed. Repeat the new seed until it takes root. Replacement thoughts need to be simple, clear, easy to remember, and most importantly, aligned with the identity you are building. They do not need to be decorated or glamorous. They just need to be strong, truthful, and forward-moving. Step 4, repetition. Every belief is born from repetition. Every new mindset habit only becomes solid when reinforced long enough. That is why the next crucial step is to practice repeating positive thinking as a daily habit. No different from brushing your teeth or eating meals. You cannot think positively once and expect your life to change. But you can establish a daily training system, reading aloud, empowering affirmations, writing down what you are grateful for, visualizing positive outcomes with vivid emotions. Consistency is not something distant. It is the act of repeating the right small behaviors every day, regardless of mood. And gradually, persistence will carve new pathways in your brain where your first reflex in the face of difficulty is no longer complaining or fear. But I will find a way. Step 5, emotional engagement. Thoughts alone, even positive ones, are not strong enough to create change without emotions attached. Because emotions are the most powerful adhesive for the nervous system to remember. When you speak an affirmation with genuine feeling, with resonance, excitement, gratitude, you accelerate the entire process of reprogramming your brain. Imagine visualizing a goal and feeling moved to the point of tears as if it were happening now. At that moment, your body begins to change. Your chemistry shifts, and the frequency you emit transforms as well. This is not mystical. This is biology. This is how top athletes use visualization to win. And you can use it for yourself every day. This 5-step process does not need to be overcomplicated. You do not need a perfect environment or advanced education to start. You only need one thing: commitment. When you are truly serious about changing the way you think, your entire inner and outer world will shift accordingly. This is not empty theory. This is the operating technology of successful thinking. Do not think you need to do it perfectly. You only need to do it consistently. And the miracle will not come from doing it right once, but from the hundreds of times you choose again. Each time your mind wants to return to the old path, do it again, one time after another. Every time you interrupt the negative and choose the positive, you grow stronger. Every day you repeat the new thought habits is another step further from the old limits. And every positive emotion you attach to a thought action is one step closer to the person you were born to become. You can practice vivid visualizations. You can repeat positive affirmations. You can interrupt negative loops every day. But if the environment of your mind remains toxic, all your efforts will only be halfway measures. It is like planting good seeds in acidic soil. You cannot expect the tree to sprout, bloom, and bear fruit. The mind is the same. It needs cleansing before it can be restructured. And that cleansing does not come from avoidance, but from awareness and decisiveness in choosing what is allowed to enter your mental space. There are toxins that cannot be seen with the eyes, yet they silently corrode your inner strength. They come from habits, from information, from words, from your living environment, and from the very way you talk to yourself. If you do not actively detox, You are living in a self-destructive system where fragments of negativity from the outside gradually turn into the voice inside. And once that inner voice is poisoned, you no longer need enemies. You destroy yourself day by day. Be honest with yourself. What are you consuming each day? How many hours do you allow negative news to infiltrate? How many times do you scroll through social media only to end up feeling inadequate? That your life is insignificant. That the success of others is a slap in the face to your own stagnation. You do not need to eliminate information entirely, but you must become the vigilant guard at the gate of your mind. Every time you read a sensational headline, every time you hear of disasters, bleak scenarios, toxic judgments, you are allowing your nervous system to be triggered into survival mode. And if you repeat that daily, your mind cannot possibly remain stable, clear, or capable of seeing possibilities. You do not need blind optimism, but you do need discernment. Not all information deserves to be taken in, and sometimes turning off a phone, walking away from a news site, or deleting an app can be more effective than a 7-day meditation retreat. Environment is not just the place you live, it is also the people you allow into the ecosystem of your mind. There are those who are always doubtful, always judgmental, always viewing every possibility as a threat. They are not bad, they are simply living within the confines of their own limitations. But if you are not careful, you will be pulled into that same limitation. Every story you listen to is like an injection into your nervous system. If you spend time with those who blame, complain, or criticize, you will carry that energy home. Conversely, if you are around people with vision, with a spirit of learning, with an empowering outlook, you will naturally feel yourself lifted higher. Remember, you do not need 100 cheerleaders. You only need 3 quality people who will not mislead you. And above all, become such a person to others, a purifier of the air, not a polluter of it. No enemy is more dangerous than the voice in your head when it repeats, "I'm not good enough. I always fail. I don't deserve love." These are not just words. They are toxic programs installed from childhood, from painful experiences, from endless comparisons to external standards. And if you do not learn a new dialogue, you will spend your life inside a prison of your own making. Detoxing from negative self-talk is not simply about thinking positively. It begins with recognizing I am repeating a voice that is not mine. I am living by an old script that no longer fits. I have the right and the responsibility to rewrite the lines in my head. No one will live with you your whole life but you. So, if you do not learn to talk to yourself as a leader, as a friend, as a guide, no one from outside can compensate for that. You may be living in the present, but if your mind is imprisoned by the past, you cannot move far. The past is not the enemy. It only becomes toxic when you repeat it as proof of your current limitations, failures, hurtful words. Incomplete memories, if replayed like a broken record, will make your mind gradually believe, this is who I will always be. But you are not the product of the past. You are the one who edits its meaning. When you learn to view the past as study material rather than a sentence, you begin to strip away the toxicity from your memories. What you have been through does not define you. How you interpret it is what determines who you become. If you do not cleanse it, it will self-destruct. If you do not filter the input, you cannot control the output. And if you do not actively detox, every personal development tool, no matter how good, will only be like watering a plant whose roots have already rotted. Begin with one small action. Audit what you are feeding yourself daily. Who are you listening to? What are you reading? What kind of people are you conversing with? What mental models are you following? Every subtle shift in input will generate a powerful movement in output. This is not a spiritual law. This is the physics of the mind. And then you will see when your mind is cleansed, new ideas will emerge. When your emotions are lighter, solutions will become clearer. When your energy is purer, you will start to attract fitting opportunities and people like a sky after the rain. When the clouds disperse, the light naturally shines through. Detoxing is not a one-time act. It is a process, a way of life every day. You must choose. What am I allowing to occupy my mind? Am I protecting the most sacred space within me or not? And if not, then today is the day to begin. Begin with awareness, with clear boundaries, with the courage to say no to what no longer serves your growth. Once you have begun to recognize your thoughts, interrupt negativity, and detox from harmful mental influences, the next thing you need to do is not to wait for inspiration to strike. It is to act like the chief engineer of your mind to begin reinstalling beliefs, not superficial beliefs full of illusions. Deep mental structures empowering, resilient enough to withstand challenges, and strong enough to propel you toward bold action. Beliefs are the root software of the mental operating system. They are not just what you rationally believe. Beliefs are unconscious background commands that dictate how you act, determine what you allow yourself to do, and silently decide what results you feel you deserve in life. If you believe I am not enough, you will automatically reject opportunities. If you believe success is for other people, you will unconsciously sabotage your own success when it arrives. But if you dare to rewrite these old structures, you are redesigning your entire future without depending on luck. There is a golden principle you must remember. Thoughts are the language of the conscious mind. Beliefs are the language of the subconscious. You can think thousands of positive thoughts, but if deep down in your subconscious you still hold a limiting belief, your life will continue to operate according to that hidden command. Not because you lack effort, but because the old operating system is still running in the background, unseen, but immensely powerful. The question is, have you ever truly chosen your own beliefs, or are you still living by handed-down beliefs, inherited from parents, from society, from people who have never lived your life? Installing new beliefs is an act of courage. It requires you to step outside the comfort zone of your thinking. It requires you to admit, I have believed something that is no longer true, and I choose to change. But that is also the most profound act of empowerment. When you have the power to choose your beliefs, you reclaim the authority over your destiny. So how can you do this in a structured way? Not all beliefs are obvious. Some things you do not even consider to be beliefs, yet they quietly govern every action. For example, you might say, I'm not good with numbers. It may sound harmless, but it means you have excluded yourself from opportunities related to investing, finance, and planning. Or the statement, I'm not leadership material, might cause you to reject a leadership role when it comes. Write down the phrases you often say to yourself, especially when faced with difficulty. That is where limiting beliefs are hiding. Every belief has an origin. Maybe you were once laughed at while speaking in class and since then believed you cannot communicate. Maybe you once failed in a business venture and since then believed you are not cut out to be an entrepreneur. Recognizing the source is not about blaming, but about seeing clearly. This belief was formed in an old context, and it no longer fits who I am today. The roots do not need to be denied. They only need to be revisited through the eyes of someone who has grown. This is where you truly begin to rewrite, not by denying the old, but by upgrading it. For example, instead of I'm not good at communication, you can choose I am learning to communicate more clearly and powerfully each day. Instead of I'm not leadership material, you can choose I am nurturing the leader within me through every small action. New beliefs do not need to be perfect, they just need to empower. They must open doors, not close them. An important question to ask yourself is, Does this new belief move me towards stronger action? As mentioned earlier, beliefs are not embedded through reason, but through emotion and repetition. Write down the new beliefs you want to install and read them every morning, not mechanically, but as if you are teaching yourself anew how to view the world. Imagine living as though these beliefs were already true for you. Let the emotions of trust, relief, and expansion spread throughout your body. Your brain will begin to register. Ah, this is the new state. This is the new direction of operation. Make the repetition of empowering beliefs a sacred daily ritual. Nothing reinforces belief more powerfully than action. If you say you are persistent, do something you have been postponing. If you believe you are becoming more confident, engage in a conversation you once avoided. Every action is living proof that your subconscious records, and it is this chain of small actions that builds a new identity. Action is undeniable evidence, and once you accumulate enough evidence, your brain can no longer cling to the old belief. The new belief will prevail. Remember, you cannot live higher than your deepest belief about yourself, but you can choose that belief every morning, every inner dialogue. Every behavioral choice is an opportunity to reset your mental operating system. Belief does not come from books. It comes from living, observing, reflecting, and consciously choosing again. What you believe today, you will live tomorrow. And the most wonderful truth is this: there is no limit to the new beliefs you can build. You can believe you are worthy of deep love. You can believe you are capable of creating an extraordinary career. You can believe you are someone who heals, creates, and inspires. And when that belief takes root, everything around you will begin to reflect it back. Not because the world has changed, but because you have changed the way you see the world. You do not need to rely on luck, mysterious energies, or miraculous external pushes to change your life. Real change begins when you clearly understand the ultimate tool you possess, the brain, the most powerful machine in the universe you have been given. And the wonderful news is it can be reprogrammed. No magic required. No innate talent needed. Simply by understanding the right principles, you can change how your brain reacts, chooses, remembers, and decides. And from there, you change how you live. This is not empty theory. This is neuroscience. It is the combination of neuroplasticity, the brain's capacity to change its structure, conditioned behavior, and the capacity for conscious choice, all proving that you are not a fixed outcome of the past, but an open design. First, understand a fundamental truth. Your brain is a product of repetition. It does not operate by right, wrong, but by familiarity. Whatever is repeated often enough will be labeled safe by the nervous system, whether it is a good or bad habit, an empowering or limiting belief, constructive or self-sabotaging behavior, if it is familiar. Your brain will select it, because that is the biological safety zone. You think you choose based on reason. In reality, 95% of daily behavior is governed by the subconscious, and most of that consists of old, repetitive, unupdated neural circuits. So how do you program it anew? How do you rewrite the core code that runs thoughts, emotions, and actions? Let's walk through 4 key principles validated by neuroscientists, behavioral psychologists, and brain development experts, and you can begin applying them today. In the past, people believed the brain developed to a certain age and then froze, unable to change. Today, science has proven the opposite. You can generate new neural circuits for life. Every time you think a new thought, learn a new skill, or respond differently in the same situation, you activate neuroplasticity. And if you repeat it you not only activate, you are building a new neural pathway. That is why repeating positive thinking, practicing new reflexes, or vivid visualization is so effective. It does not merely change emotions, it changes biology. Your nervous system is a forest. Paths that are frequently traveled become ever clearer. Abandoned trails gradually disappear. This is the principle of synaptic pruning. When you stop using a belief, a behavior, an emotional reaction, the old neural connections start to weaken. And that is a tremendous opportunity. You do not need to wipe out every bad habit by sheer willpower. You only need to stop feeding it. Stop repeating. Stop reinforcing. Redirect energy into the new behavior. The old path will wither. The new path will solidify. This is biology, not wishful thinking. The more you act differently, the more your brain responds as if you are a new person. Have you noticed? The strongest memories you retain, whether positive or negative, are tied to intense emotion. That is because your brain prioritizes recording whatever triggers high emotional arousal in the nervous system, and that is a golden opportunity whenever you practice positive thinking. Visualize goals or speak affirmations. Combine them with vivid emotion. Emotion is the confirmation signal to the brain. This matters. Record it. When you feel deep gratitude, complete happiness, unwavering trust. These states encode the experience and accelerate the shaping of new neural pathways. Emotion is the command code that accompanies behavior. Without it, you are sending weak signals. With it, you are issuing an order to restructure the entire system. You do not need to do something grand to change your brain. What you need is consistency. Get up 5 minutes early each morning to write an affirmation. Each time you would normally react negatively, pause for 10 seconds to breathe deeply. Each time you choose to act differently than the old habit, even just a little, your brain registers the change, of course. And if you repeat it, it begins shifting from old behaviors to new behaviors prioritized, like building muscle. You do not need to lift 100 kilograms. You only need to lift regularly each day. The brain is the same. It does not need a big push. It needs the steady repetition of thought, emotion, action patterns. You might ask, so where do I start? Start where you are. Every time you read something positive, speak something positive, choose something positive, you are reprogramming. Do not underestimate the small. Every thought is a signal. Every emotion is encoding. Every action is a neural wire. And your brain, if you stay consistent, will rewrite the entire structure you once believed was your fixed self. The best part is, you do not have to be perfect to begin. You only need to be awake enough not to keep walking the same old path. Each day you choose a slightly different route is a day you are shifting away from the old version. And if you are patient enough, the brain will adapt, restructure, and gradually operate as if you have always been that new version from the start. This is not optimistic philosophy. This is neuroscience. This is practice. And what you need to do today is not to change your whole life, but to start rerouting one neural connection, one behavior, one belief, one emotional reaction. Then repeat. If you only use your brain to recall the past, you are wasting one of the greatest abilities humans possess, the power to deliberately visualize the future. Because the true miracle is not in remembering what has already happened. It lies in your ability to create what has never existed before and to make your body, emotions, and energy behave as if it has already happened. This is not idle daydreaming. This is a mental tool backed by neuroscience, psychology, elite sports, and even quantum science. Visualization, vivid mental imagery, is the key to communicating with the subconscious, installing a new identity, programming emotions, and shifting energy from the old state into a breakthrough state. And if you know how to use it properly, it becomes a magical bridge that takes you from the present to the future, not by miracle, but through deliberate navigation of the mind. First, we understand this. The brain does not distinguish between what you vividly imagine and what you actually experience. Studies with fMRI scans have shown that when an athlete visualizes themselves practicing a technique, their motor cortex activates almost identically to when they actually perform it. This means that when you picture yourself speaking confidently, walking into a big opportunity, or achieving a goal, you are generating real neural signals, real emotions, and even real biological responses. And if you repeat this often enough, your brain begins to accept that image as the default map. From there, you start acting in alignment with that picture, rather than in alignment with old memories. This is why visualization is a crucial tool in sports training, the arts, healing, and every field of peak performance. So how do you visualize effectively? It is not enough to just sit and daydream. You need to restructure your entire approach, turning visualization into a scientific, profound mental ritual capable of unlocking true potential. Most people stop at simply picturing an image. I see myself successful. I see myself healthy. But the brain does not respond strongly to dry images. It responds to the emotions attached to those images. If you see yourself speaking before an audience, imagine how you feel in that moment, your steady heartbeat, your confident smile, the warm gaze of the listeners. If you visualize achieving a financial goal, feel the relief, the freedom, the gratitude, the self-mastery. It is emotion that labels the nervous system and tells it this image matters. Store it and recreate it. Do not be vague. Direct your visualization like a world-class film director. Picture every scene. What are you wearing? Where are you? What time of day is it? Who is around you? What are the colors, sounds, and lighting? Like each detail is part of bringing the future experience to life, making your brain react as if it is truly happening. Visualization is not about writing a script for the future. It is rehearsing the future with all your senses. The more detailed, vivid, and repeated it is, the more you convince your nervous system to accept it as the new normal. The biggest mistake in visualization is hoping someday. Do not visualize as if you are wishing. Visualize as if it has already happened and you are living it now. The brain's language responds to the present tense. When you say, I will, if only, someday, you are keeping that image in the future, and unconsciously, you delay it. Instead, visualize as though you are remembering something you have already experienced. This is how you collapse the distance between one day and I am. The golden times for programming the subconscious are right after waking up and right before sleep. At these times, your brain is in alpha or theta waves, states that are highly receptive, unguarded by rational filters. Spend 5-10 minutes each morning before reaching for your phone, and each evening before drifting into sleep, visualizing who you want to become. When you visualize during these windows, you are planting seeds directly into the soil of the subconscious. And if you plant enough seeds, that picture will take root. Visualization is not meant to escape reality, but to activate new behavior aligned with your new identity. When you have already seen yourself confident, strong, and decisive in your mind, you will naturally behave more in line with that in real life. This is where visualization becomes reality, when you begin to make different choices, when you act exactly as the person you have already pre-experienced in your mind. Visualization does not just change thoughts, it directs behavior, and repeated behavior creates results. Finally, do not visualize as if you are praying to receive, but as if you are remembering what has already been ordained. This is the difference between a passive person and a destiny maker. When you visualize as though you are reliving something already written for you, something you deserve, something already available in your stream of energy, you trigger a different vibrational state. It is no longer the state of lack, but the state of wholeness. And when you vibrate as if it is already here, the universe responds with what matches that state. Visualization is the bridge, but you are the one who decides whether to step on it. Do not let this tool be just another exercise you read about and forget. Make it a daily habit, not just to glimpse a brighter future, but to begin living as if you are truly walking toward it, step by step, right now. Confidence is not an inborn privilege. It is not a gift reserved only for those with attractive looks, flawless backgrounds, or a past free of wounds. Confidence is a state that can be created, trained, and mastered. And the most important thing you need to understand is this: confidence does not come from the absence of fear, but from the willingness to act even while fear is still present. No one becomes steady overnight. True confidence is forged in every situation where you might have wanted to retreat, but instead chose to step forward. It is the byproduct of repeated courage. Each time you push past an old limit, speak your mind, step into a new space, or confront an inner barrier, you are not just acting. You are laying brick by brick the foundation of your own unshakable confidence. However, there is a truth that must be made clear. Real confidence is not flashy display, but inner composure. Confident people do not need to show off. They do not need to prove themselves. They do not need to cover up. They do not live to please or polish their image. They show up with a very specific kind of energy, the energy of someone who knows exactly who they are. And you can learn this. You can become such a person not by forcing yourself, but by building a solid inner foundation from the inside out. So what is the foundation of unshakable confidence? It does not come from a compliment, an achievement, or a single success. It comes from 5 inner pillars that you can build day by day. Confidence begins with knowing who you are. When you lack a clear definition of yourself, you will always be swayed by other people's comments, glances, or reactions. But once you have defined who am I, what do I live for, what values do I stand for, you no longer need permission from outside to be present. A person with a clear identity will not get lost in comparisons. They do not need to be like anyone else, because they know exactly which version of themselves they are becoming. If you have never written down your self-definition in your own words, begin there. Confidence does not start with the voice of others, but with the voice you speak to yourself from within. One of the key factors that builds lasting confidence is keeping promises to yourself, not big promises, but small ones, repeated daily. I will wake up on time. I will finish this task before 11 a.m. I will exercise today. Each time you keep a small promise, you send a signal to the subconscious. I am trustworthy. And these signals accumulate into a core belief: I can rely on myself. Conversely, each time you break a promise to yourself, you erode your confidence. No one can grant you trust if you do not cultivate the habit of trusting yourself. Confidence is the product of disciplined self-kindness. Fear never disappears. It only changes form. But the difference between the confident and the doubtful is this: confident people do not wait until fear vanishes before acting. They act like warriors who understand fear is a sign I am standing at the edge of new territory. They do not see fear as the enemy, but as a signal. When you dare to step into your fear even just a little each day, you are expanding the borders of confidence. Do not wait until you feel ready. Take small but consistent actions even while your heart is still trembling. And it is this chain of actions that will redefine who you are in your own eyes. No one can grow confident by living only in their heads. Confidence must be reinforced by real experience. Recall the times you once feared something but overcame it. Write down the moments you succeeded. No matter how small, create a list, evidence that I am becoming stronger. Each action is a brick. Each stretch beyond your comfort zone is a nail securing your foundation. Do not rely only on motivation. Build a library of personal evidence, a place where you can look back and see I am truly growing. Confidence does not come from a single moment. It is the product of deliberate, consistent accumulation. You cannot build confidence if you constantly live in environments steeped in judgment, negativity, mockery, and doubt. Be cautious with the energies you consume daily from social media, friends, news, to seemingly harmless conversations. If you want to develop confidence, create a living space, a mental nutrition that nurtures the person you are becoming. Read books by those who conquered fear. Spend time with people who dare to live authentically. Be a kind companion to yourself. Confidence does not grow in the soil of judgment. It blossoms in the soil of understanding, persistence, and light. And finally, remember, confidence does not mean your hands never shake. Confidence means you still move forward with a pounding heart, but steady eyes. You do not need to shout, I am great. You only need to say, I will do it, and then repeat it. Every day. No exaggeration, no rush. Just a version of yourself steadily growing from the inside out. On the journey upward, it is not those with a straight, easy path who win, but those who know how to turn bumps into momentum, wounds into wisdom, and obstacles into launch pads. Failure is not the end. It is an invitation to step into a deeper layer of yourself where you learn lessons that success could never teach. Obstacles are not rocks blocking the way, but springboards that propel you to heights you might never have thought you could reach if things had been too easy. If you know how to read the true message of adversity, you will see that every time life says no, it conceals within it a deeper yes meant for you, to turn obstacles into launch pads. You first need to change one thing, the story you tell yourself about the event. When you face failure, rejection, or loss of direction, it is easy to say, I'm not good enough, I'm unworthy, I'm unlucky. But from that very same event, you can just as easily tell a different story. I am being reshaped. I just discovered what I need to improve. I am being trained to be ready for a new level. What makes the difference? Not reality itself, but the meaning you assign to it. And that meaning is what generates emotions, drives motivation, influences decisions, and ultimately shapes the person you are becoming. Imagine a swordsmith. If the metal is never heated, red hot, hammered, and bent, can it ever become a sharp blade? Life is the same. Obstacles are the fire that tempers resilience, the hammer that reshapes you, the pressure required to awaken capacities you would never have tapped otherwise. The issue is not avoiding challenges, but being grateful for their presence. Each time you overcome an obstacle, you do not just move one step further, you elevate your identity. You become someone who can look pain in the eye without breaking. Many successful people recount that without life's heavy blows of bankruptcy, a job loss, a breakup that seemed unbearable, they might have drifted forever in their comfort zone. Hardship forces you to reflect. It stops you so you will not keep heading the wrong way. It disappoints you so you will no longer compromise. In many cases, failure does not set you back. It frees you from a wrong path. And if you are brave enough to ask, what lesson is this trying to teach me, then even pain itself becomes a form of light. Look closely at the people you admire. None of them succeeded without stumbling. But what made them different was not luck. It was their ability to rise again with a stronger nervous system, a deeper belief, and a more humble outlook. Perseverance is not about never feeling tired. It is about continuing despite the fatigue. Obstacles are the gym for your mental strength. Each time you refuse to quit, you are not only overcoming the challenge, you are upgrading your inner core. That is the true victory, conquering yourself. Only when all the old paths are closed do you have to create a new road. Only when others reject you do you learn to stand on your own 2 feet. Only when you feel lost do you discover what truly matters. Obstacles do not strip away your power. They force you to activate the parts of yourself you had never used. When cornered, you become sharper, more alert, more focused. And that is the disguised gift. Life is not punishing you. It is helping you unlock a depth you had never explored. When every strategy fails, when every plan collapses, you will learn something profound. Faith does not need evidence. You will learn to walk without seeing the whole path. You will learn to act while things are still uncertain. And it is precisely in that stage, when you choose not to give up, that you are building the strongest foundation of all, the foundation of an indomitable spirit. Success does not only come from what you know, it comes from your willingness to keep moving when nothing is left to cling to but determination. So how do you transform obstacles into launch pads? First, stop the instinctive reaction. Do not immediately complain, blame life, or point fingers. Instead, take a deep breath and ask, what is truly happening inside me? Second, rewrite the story. Instead of retelling the victim's version, tell yourself, this is a turning point. This is a signal for adjustment. This is an opportunity to improve. Third, act differently. If before you stayed silent, speak up. If before you hid, step forward. If before you reacted, choose to respond with direction. Every new behavior is a declaration. I am no longer the old me. Finally, replant seeds in the very soil of adversity. Use pain to rewrite passion. Use failure to recreate strategy. Use hardship to forge willpower. And from there, build a solid launch pad that no one can take away. True success does not come from always having it easy, but from knowing how to turn adversity into advantage, wounds into wisdom, and obstacles into leverage for greater leaps. This is not theory. This is the way of those who have stepped out of the shadows to shine, and you can absolutely become one of them. There is an invisible, yet extraordinary source of power waiting to be awakened within you, not from ambition, not from struggle, but from something seemingly small: gratitude. It sounds simple, but be careful, for the simplest things are often the most underestimated. Gratitude is not just a beautiful emotion, nor is it a social courtesy. Gratitude is a tool of deep transformation. It can restructure perception, soothe the nervous system, reset belief, and redirect the entire flow of energy in your life. It is a silent revolution, yet powerful enough to turn reality around. Why call it a revolution? Because true gratitude does not happen when everything is perfect, but precisely when you dare to give thanks in the midst of chaos. It is a countercultural, counter-conditional act. It reverses the natural tendency of the ego, always seeking what is missing, what is wrong, what is worth complaining about, and places you in the role of creator rather than reactor. You may ask, how can I be grateful when everything is falling apart? When I do not yet have what I want? When the world is full of injustice? That is exactly why gratitude is a revolution. It requires you to overturn old patterns of thinking and redefine abundance. The secret lies here. Gratitude is not because you already have enough, but it is gratitude itself that makes you enough. When you give thanks for small things, your breath, your eyes, a glass of clean water, the chance to correct mistakes. You activate a vibrational frequency where all resistance dissolves. All feelings of lack are soothed, and you reconnect to the flow of life. In that state, you no longer need to force positivity. You simply become positive naturally. No effort, no pretense. Only your inner being operating at a deeper dimension. Imagine this each morning when you wake up. Instead of checking your phone, you close your eyes for 30 seconds and whisper, "Thank you that I am alive. Thank you that today is a new opportunity. Thank you that I have this body, even if not perfect. It is enough to move, to breathe, to experience just a few minutes a day." And you are reprogramming your perceptual filter. You will begin to notice more goodness, not because the world suddenly changed, but because you just removed the negative lenses from your mind. Gratitude is also the key to overcoming comparison and envy. When you truly appreciate what you already have, you stop peeking at someone else's plate. You no longer chase after another's success, because you are too busy living fully in your own portion of life. And paradoxically, it is in this state of gratitude that you become more likely to attract even greater blessings. Because the universe does not reward the complainer, it rewards the one who cherishes. However, for gratitude to become a living power, you must rise above fleeting emotions and turn it into a mindset, a deliberate habit. Here are the core principles of a true gratitude revolution. Beginners in gratitude only give thanks when something good happens. Those with deeper understanding know that even adversity is a strangely wrapped gift. A failure makes you humble. A broken relationship teaches you how to love more deeply. An illness forces you to slow down and live consciously. When you dare to thank life for what is not favorable, you are sending a powerful inner message. I believe everything has a reason. I believe I am being guided. I see beyond the surface. I connect to deeper meaning. This is the highest level of gratitude and also the strongest vibrational state. If you are truly grateful for your body, you will take care of it. If you are truly grateful for your time, you will stop wasting it. If you are grateful for those who helped you, you will live in a way that proves you are trustworthy. Gratitude does not live in words. It lives in choices. That is why someone can write a gratitude journal every night, yet still live in dissatisfaction. They have not truly lived as though they are blessed. Let gratitude soak into every step you take, every decision, every way you treat yourself and others. You cannot hope for a peaceful mind if every day begins with pressure, anxiety, and distraction. Build yourself a morning gratitude ritual, even if only 3 minutes. Write down 3 things you are grateful for. Breathe deeply and feel them. Silently, thank the person who helped you yesterday. Thank the lesson you just learned, even if it was bitter. Gradually, your brain will understand each day is a miracle, and you begin to live with the mindset of someone who has already won the lottery, not needing to be more than anyone else, because you are already full from within. The energy of gratitude spreads like a gentle flame. When you thank someone sincerely, not out of formality, not flattery, you are sending them the message. You matter. You are seen. In a world where people increasingly feel invisible and disconnected, a heartfelt thank you can be medicine. You do not need to be a psychologist. Just live with gratitude and you are already a bearer of light. And finally, remember, gratitude does not make you weak. It makes you invincible. Because a grateful person cannot be manipulated by circumstances. They are not easily shaken by loss, not rushed by temptation, not quick to quit when delays occur. They stand firm in the currents of life, not because they have everything, but because they see the value in the smallest things. The gratitude revolution requires no slogans. It begins within by looking at everything around you with new eyes. No longer asking, "What am I lacking?" but beginning to whisper, "What do I already hold in my hands to give thanks for right now?" from that starting point. You will realize the world has never betrayed you. It has only been waiting for you to see its beauty through the eyes of gratitude. There is an undeniable truth. You do not exist in a vacuum. You are part of an invisible yet immensely powerful field called social influence. Every person you meet, every conversation, every glance, every sigh or burst of laughter leaves an imprint on you. And the danger is this: if you are not intentional, you will be programmed by your environment without even realizing it. Your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, most of them are shaped by the people you allow into your life. If you constantly interact with people who are pessimistic, complaining, blaming, and resentful, do not be surprised when you begin to see the world through a toxic lens. Conversely, if you surround yourself with those who inspire, who live by high standards, who take responsibility and continually move forward, you will feel a new current, a fresh flow of energy, a silent yet powerful activation. You cannot separate your energy from the collective energy. This is not a philosophical claim. This is a biological reality. Neuroscience has shown that the human nervous system is programmed to mirror the emotions, states, and behaviors of others through the mirror neuron system. This means that when you are near an anxious person, even without words, your brain reflects that state and begins to produce corresponding hormones. When you converse with a calm person, your brain gradually adjusts its waves to synchronize. This resonance makes one thing clear: if you do not consciously choose who to be close to, others will choose your emotional state for you. In a world increasingly polluted by negative news, artificial social media, and shallow relationships, protecting your personal energy space has become a mental survival skill. You need awareness, disciplina, and above all, the courage to reset your standards. Who is allowed to enter your energy field? Not everyone you know is someone you should keep. Not everyone who is enthusiastic is truly positive. Not everyone who is always around helps you grow. Remember, does someone's presence make you stronger, or does it make you shrink? So, how do you build a healthy social ecosystem? One where you are not only receiving positive energy, but also becoming a source of nourishment for others. Spend quiet time reflecting after each encounter. How do you feel? Lighter or heavier, clearer or more confused, inspired or drained? Do not judge by sentiment, be honest. Write down the names of those who help you become a better version of yourself. Write down the names of those who deplete you. This is not to eliminate people, but to help you understand every relationship has a frequency, and that frequency is either pulling you up or dragging you down. You cannot stay trapped in the same old circle and expect breakthroughs. Seek out spaces with positive language, clear goals, mutual support, and respect for individuality. This might be a book club, a personal development class, a morning meditation group, or even just two friends committed to living deeply. A new environment will shift your mind before you even notice. That is why you must prioritize it as an essential part of life reconstruction. Do not only seek, become. Become the person who is fully present, who listens without judgment, who speaks words of encouragement, who acts from pure intent. When you keep your energy clean, you are not only protecting yourself, you are creating a field of positive vibration that expands outward. And by the law of attraction, you will draw in those on the same wavelength, people who do not come to drain, but to co-create. Those who radiate positive energy are always living magnets. Sometimes, the most negative people are your own family. You cannot cut them off, but you can set healthy distance, not out of hatred, but out of love for yourself and for them. You can choose not to engage in gossip or complaining. You can politely end a conversation when it crosses your boundaries. You can choose to listen without being swept into the emotion. Boundaries do not make you cold, they keep you bright enough to guide others, no matter what the outside world is like. You always have a place to return to the atmosphere you create within yourself. Begin your day with gentle music, positive affirmations, a few minutes of meditation or creative visualization before bed. Release the day's energy and whisper a silent thank you to yourself. This does not take much time, but it resets your personal frequency so you will not be swept away by external chaos. Remember, you are the broadcasting center of your own signal. Every thought you choose, every person you keep close, every interaction you nurture shapes the vibration you emit, and the world will respond to you not with words, but with opportunities, people, and circumstances that match that frequency. If you want a more expansive life, begin by protecting and elevating the quality of energy around you. Do not forget this. Every great change in life begins with a small decision, choosing an environment that nurtures the best version of you. You have the right to choose who enters your living space. You have the right to withdraw from frequencies that no longer fit. And most importantly, you have the power to become a source of positive energy not only for yourself, but for all who are fortunate enough to step into your world. Thinking is the machine that produces results, the control room of every action, decision, and emotion in your life. If you want to upgrade the quality of your life, do not start only with what you do. Begin with how you think. And higher level thinking does not appear naturally. It is the outcome of intentionally training, choosing, refining, and applying principle-based strategies. Below are 7 advanced thinking strategies, the mental tools of creators, not reactors. Most people think from their current position, what they have, what they lack, what limitations they face. But high-level thinkers start from vision, where they want to go. They ask, if I had already achieved this goal, how would I think? How would I act? How would I solve this situation? Through the mindset of that person. When you think as your future self, you begin to make decisions not from scarcity, but from strength, and that very state shifts your entire direction. Advanced thinking is thinking beyond the present condition. Ordinary people react based on immediate emotions. Advanced thinkers see everything as part of a system where causes and effects are interconnected. They do not ask, what's wrong here? But instead ask, what pattern is this connected to? Am I repeating an old cycle? When you think in systems, you no longer see problems as isolated incidents. You begin to see them as part of a network of logic demanding an upgrade. And the beauty is, once you change how you view one knot, the entire system shifts. In a world of uncertainty, advanced thinkers do not seek absolute certainty. They operate with probabilistic thinking. What percentage is the likelihood this will happen? What is the risk if I am wrong? What is the reward if I am right? For them, every decision is a calculated move, not a gamble. They know how to optimize outcomes even without complete data. More importantly, they are not paralyzed by perfectionism. They make decisions in motion and learn from every result. Instead of only asking, how do I succeed? They ask, what would cause me to fail? Instead of asking, how do I become healthy? They ask, what habits must I avoid so I don't destroy my health? This is an extremely powerful strategy because it helps you avoid mistakes that could sabotage the entire process. By identifying what to avoid before identifying what to do, you create a safety zone in thinking where risks are reduced and clarity is increased. Advanced thinkers do not believe everything is just the way it is. They always search for deeper causes. When facing a problem, they do not ask, why is this happening to me, but how did I contribute to creating this? Causal thinking is responsible thinking, thinking that does not evade. It forces you to look at your role in every outcome, even the unwanted ones. And in that act of ownership, you reclaim control of the game. Not every action carries the same weight. Advanced thinkers always look for leverage points, the key pivots where one adjustment can shift everything else. They are not concerned with doing more, but with doing what matters. They do not scatter their focus, they concentrate. They do not panic, they search for the root cause. When you think this way, you do not need 100 steps to change your life, just one leverage point. Applied at the right moment. And here lies the most refined strategy. High-level thinkers understand that logic is not always the best tool. Sometimes you already know what is right, but you cannot do it because your emotional state is not aligned. They learn to return and reset their state before making decisions. They know that a decision born from fear is completely different from one born from calm. Thus, they do not just upgrade their thoughts, but also the frequency within the place where thoughts themselves are generated. Imagine applying these 7 strategies consistently each day. You no longer think in ruts. You are no longer pulled by impulsive reactions. You no longer act based on chaotic emotions. You become a keen observer, a wise decision maker, a proactive creator. You begin to change not from behavior, but from the architecture of perception itself. And from there, every result you touch carries the imprint of someone who truly masters their mind. Advanced thinking is not the privilege of geniuses. It is the habit of those who set high standards for their lives. And you, from the very moment you are reading this, can absolutely choose to step into that level. No waiting, no approval needed. Only your decision, I will think differently to live a life more worthy of me. Every lasting transformation does not come from a fleeting moment of inspiration, but from a deliberately designed system. Inspiration can spark the flame, but only a system can keep it burning. Many people fail in their personal growth journey not because they lack desire, but because they lack a supporting structure. They want to go further, yet they walk on sand. They hope to wake up early. Think positively. Live deeply. But every day they are swept away by chaos, because no system exists to protect the goals they set. If you are truly serious about your own growth, you must treat that journey like a serious project. It needs a foundation, a framework, an operating process, and maintenance principles. That is the role of a personal transformation system. First, you must understand this. A system is not a packed schedule or a complex plan. A good system is one that consistently brings you back to awareness, keeps you connected to your goals, sustains your energy, and helps you avoid falling into old loops without requiring excessive willpower each day. The simpler the system, the easier it is to implement, and the more automated it becomes, the more sustainable it is. Transformation does not come from a one-time special action, but from small patterns repeated consistently until they become identity. So, how do you design such a system? Your system must be built on root pillars, the aspects that shape the overall quality of life: energy, mindset, behavior, environment, connections, goals. Do not rush to optimize small tasks if you are unclear about how each pillar is functioning. Answer honestly, what are you feeding your body and your mind each day? Does your morning routine reinforce or disrupt your goals? Does your living environment help you focus? Do the people you interact with push you forward? A system cannot be built until you identify where the anchor points are misaligned. An effective personal transformation system always begins in the morning. Morning is when the brain is not yet occupied and when you can reprogram yourself most easily. An ideal morning ritual does not need to last hours, but it must deliver 3 things: awareness, clarity, and connection. Picture an ideal morning for yourself, waking up unhurried. A few minutes of meditation or visualization. writing one affirmation, light movement, and reading a few lines of inspiration. In just 20-30 minutes, you shift from a random state into an intentional state, and that determines the quality of your entire day. In the system of a transformer, there is no room for prolonged vagueness. That is why you need to install checkpoints fixed times during the day when you pause. Observe and adjust. It might be 11 of Baxter is M, 3P, M, and 9P, M, and at each time, you need only 3 minutes to ask, what state am I in? Am I living as the person I want to become? What adjustment is needed? When you regularly awaken yourself this way, you gradually train a mind capable of self-monitoring. And this is the foundation of all inner freedom. A good system does not only guide you on what to do when things are going well, but also tells you how to respond when you fall off track. Write it down. If I lose focus, what will I do? If I procrastinate, how will I return? If I feel negative, do I have a script to shift my state? A system does not make you perfect, but it allows you to return quickly whenever you stray. That is why those with systems fail less, not because they are better, but because they stand up faster. Within your personal system, prioritize habits that create a domino effect. For example, journaling every morning does not only clarify your goals, it also helps you observe your emotions, improve expression, and maintain inner connection. One good habit can trigger 3 or 4 other positive outcomes. You do not need to do a lot, only choose well. This is the art of intelligent living, fewer but deeper, minimal yet strategic. A transformation system cannot exist without commitment. Write a clear declaration who you are, what you are pursuing, what you will prioritize each day, and what you refuse to compromise on. Read this declaration every morning as an inner oath. When you tell your mind this is the new standard, you are reprogramming the structure of your identity. And once identity changes, behavior automatically follows. A good system knows how to leverage technology, community, and supportive tools. It could be a meditation reminder app, a beat tracker, a vision board, or simply a group of friends with the same commitment. Personal transformation is not a lonely battle. It is a life architecture where you have subtle yet solid support systems. And when these systems work in harmony, you no longer need to force yourself into constant change. Transformation happens as an inevitable consequence. You do not need to wait until you are perfect to build a system. You only need to start with the simplest structures and adjust along the way. Think of it this way: if you continue to live without a system, your life will run on someone else's system, the system of media, social networks, societal expectations, unconscious reactions. But if you choose to build your own system, you are rewriting the rules of the game. You are gradually pulling yourself away from instinctive reactions to step into a life of design, to depth and meaning. And that is the irreversible path of transformation. Positive thinking is not a technique to feel good for a moment. It is the operating foundation of your entire life. But like all things of value, it cannot be maintained through fleeting bursts of inspiration or hollow phrases. For positive thinking to truly take root, for it not to be shaken by turbulence, you need a long-term strategy, a resilient inner ecosystem where positive beliefs are not only planted, but also nurtured, protected, renewed, and expanded over time. Because if not actively sustained, positive thinking, like any seed, will be swept away by life's storms. Many people assume that keeping a positive mindset means repeating a few affirmations every morning or thinking of something good when life is smooth. But it is precisely in trials, precisely when nothing goes as expected. That your mental immune system is tested. When you lose your job, when you fail, when others doubt you, when the world turns chaotic, do you still hold on to faith? The answer depends entirely on how you have designed your inner world. So what are the principles for sustaining positive thinking as a lasting source of energy? Rather than as a temporary sedative, your thinking does not exist in a vacuum. It is shaped every day by the information you consume, the people you talk to, the voices you listen to, the images you allow into your life. If you leave the external environment unchecked, you are letting your mind be shaped by noise. Therefore, the first step in sustaining positive thinking is becoming the gatekeeper of your own mind. Filter what you watch, listen to, and speak. Choose nourishing source books, podcasts, videos, communities where you are reminded of potential, values, action, and responsibility. Each day, guard your mindset as you would guard a precious garden. No one can remain positive forever without a replenishing mechanism. Instead of waiting until crisis hits to search for positivity, proactively build resources